Good morning. Today, our group will be presenting the movie that we choose. It is called The Truman Show. This movie was released in 1998 and directed by Peter Weir. This movie is a psychological science fiction drama that explores themes such as reality, identity, freedom, and human behavior. The main character in this movie is Truman Burbank, who doesn't know his life was broadcast as a TV show. So in this story, he believed that he living in a normal life in sea heaven. However, he noticed strange events around him and make him question whether he is living in a real world. But then he finally discovered that his life was controlled by a TV show. So in the end, he left the sea heaven and chose freedom. So our group chose this movie because it explores interesting psychological concepts such as classical conditioning and social influence. It shows how the environment influences behavior. It also encourages critical thinking about reality and identity. This movie is highly relevant to psychology. Through this movie, it helps us to understand how psychological can explain human behavior in everyday life.
Next, I will explain about the psychological concept. The first one is classical conditioning. Classical conditioning is a learning theory that developed by Ivan Pavlov. It explains how a person learns through association. When a neutral stimulus is repeatedly paired with a naturally occurring stimulus, it eventually produces the same response by itself. This theory helps explain how fears, phobia, and emotion reaction and also habit are formed. This classical conditioning contains four principles, which is conditioned stimulus, unconditioned stimulus, conditioned response, and unconditioned response. In The Truman Show, this concept is shown when Christoph staged the drowning of Truman's father. This traumatic event caused Truman to associate the sea with dangers and death. As a result, Truman gets aquaphobia, which is he's scared of water. And this is also prevent him from leaving sea heaven. Christoph also kept reinforcing this fear so that Truman remained trapped in his artificial world. For analysis, this shows that Truman's behavior is influenced by his past experience. Even though Truman is dreaming of traveling, but he refused to do it and his fear stopped him from doing it. At the end of the movie, he overcome his fear and sailed across the sea, showing that conditioned response may be changed, but however, in real life, this phobia may take much longer time and may also require therapy to change. Next, for psychological concept 2 is social influence. Social influence is the process where a person through feeling and behavior are affected by other people's. The three main type of social influence is conformity, compliance, and obedience. This explains why people sometimes change their behavior because of social pressure or authority. In The Truman Show, social influence can be seen through Truman's life, which is his wife Mariel and his best friend Marlon. They always convinced him that sea heaven is the safest place to live and stay. Whenever Truman trying to leave, this resident will create obstacles like roadblock and traffic jam to prevent Truman from leaving sea heaven. This action influenced Truman's belief and delayed him from discovering the truth. For analysis, at first, Truman trusts everyone around him because he believes they are honest. But however, as he noticed strange events and he started thinking independently and questioned his surroundings. Although the movie exaggerates the level of manipulation, it accurately shows how social influence can shape a person's belief, attitude, and behavior.
Next, I'll be presenting about analysis, and the first one is character analysis. The main character of The Truman Show is Truman Burbank. He is a kind, curious, and determined person. As strange events happen to him, he started to question the truth about his life and seek for freedom. The second one is Christoph. He is the creator of Truman's World. He controls everything that Truman does and believes that he is protecting Truman, but actually he is taking Truman's freedom. The third one is Meryl. Meryl is Truman's fixed wife. She is an actress that only follows Christoph's instructions. And the fourth one is Marlon. Marlon is Truman's best friend. He is also an actor that follows Christoph's instructions. He comforts Truman whenever Truman gets suspicious about his life. And the last one is Sylvia. She is the only person that cares about Truman and wanted Truman to be free. Next, I'll be talking about the psychological concept. The first one is classical conditioning. Truman's become afraid of water after witnessing his father's stage drowning, and Christoph uses the fear to stop Truman from leaving sea heaven. This shows how a traumatic experience can create a conditioned fear. Next is the second psychological concept, which is social influence. Truman's behavior and thoughts are influenced by the people around him. For example, his wife and his best friend, Meryl and Marlon, they both convinced Truman that Sea Haven is a perfect place to live in. As for Sylvia, she encourages him to question the reality of his life. And this shows how social influence can affect one's thoughts, behavior, and decision.
From this assignment, we learned that psychology is not just theories that you learn on textbooks. It helps us understand why people think, feel, and behave the way they do. By analyzing the Truman Show, we apply psychological concepts to realistic situations, making them easier to understand. We also learned that human behavior is influenced by past experiences, emotions, and social environment. Truman's fear of the sea and his trust in his surroundings were shaped by experiences that were carefully controlled. Overall, this assignment improved our critical thinking by helping us understand the reasons behind people's behavior. Second one is the insights we gained about psychology. Through this analysis, we gained a better understanding of how psychology explains human behavior. We learned about classical conditioning, where Truman developed a fear of the sea after believing his father had drowned, and this fear stopped him from leaving the island. We also explored social influence. The people around Truman convinced him that the outside world was dangerous, so he accepted their beliefs without questioning them. This showed us that our behavior is shaped by both our experiences and the people around us. Third one is how the film enhanced our understanding. The movie Truman Show made psychological concepts easier to understand by showing them in real-life situations. Instead of only reading about theories, we could see how classical conditioning and social influence affected Truman's thoughts, emotions, and behavior. The film also showed that our decisions can be influenced by our environment without us realizing it. Finally, it reminded us that psychology should always be used responsibly and ethically. Overall, this assignment helped us better understand how psychology explains human behavior in everyday life.